You and I have driven across the country several times, especially
What if every time we tried, someone stole our car and we had to walk home?
Like, yeah, you don't even comprehend. Like, even driving, you're like, wow, this is far. Like, this
With
sucks.
nothing, Jake. With nothing. They steal your car.
You walk.
And then you have nothing. And you just start walking with nothing. We would be dead.
Yeah.
They walked east into nothing on a trail to nowhere. The remaining horses slowed, stopped, and died. When the last one went down, they cut the meat off of it and carried what they could. The weight lightening as they ate stringy horse meat until it was gone. The days ran together, indistinguishable from one another. Sand, sun, sagebrush, dry lake beds that shimmered like water from a distance turned out to be nothing but cracked, white dust. Hope was about all that was left. Hey guys, welcome to Overcrest. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake.
We have a pretty solid episode coming out of the West for you today, Jake. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what it is that I want to talk about, and I'll give you a little bit of the backstory of why we're doing this. So,
Okay.
And then I'll tell you what we're doing, which everybody already knows because they heard intro that like teases what we're doing. But anyway.
Which we haven't done yet, so we don't even know what that intro says.
That's right. We haven't even done it.
That's from the future.
It's from the future. I go to a bookstore. I love books. I think books are I usually don't get rid of books, especially fiction books that I have read and sold, because I feel like books are a testament to the knowledge that you have gained by reading them.
Wait,
so I always keep books.
Where do you keep them?
Usually on a bookshelf.
How big is your bookshelf?
Well, I have a lot in bins because we moved and I got rid of a lot of
Right,
book storage.
that's where most of mine are too. Okay.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of books that I really love on a bookshelf. And the books that are on my bookshelf, the ones that I really love, I went to a place called Rare Books in Minneapolis. Actually, I don't know if it's actually called Rare Books, but the sign outside says Rare Books. And it's not in a great neighborhood. Anyway, I got the girls with me. This is last summer. I got the girls with me. And we go and I like jiggle the door of this place. It's on the corner in a pretty sketchy neighborhood. Not like, you wouldn't want to take your mom there for dinner.
I remember this story.
Yes. So I jiggle the door and this old guy comes in. He opens the door for me and lets me in. He's like, "Oh, what are you looking for?" I'm like, "Oh, I just want to look around." And I said, "Where's like some of your nice books? I'm looking for fiction, looking for history, right? I want to learn things about the human condition, things that have happened before. I don't know. I'm just always very, very curious about other people's experiences. Something that it gets me going. I like reading about it.
Yeah.
It's like this whole wall is fiction and it's all rare books. So I kind of look through this wall and there's like behind me on the other side of the wall is like some
Do you mean
comic books and
nonfiction,
stuff.
by the way?
Yes, I do mean nonfiction. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
I mean
wanted
nonfiction.
to clarify that.
I want to know. I want to know how Bilbo Baggins went about his life, so I can emulate. Right? Which actually,
do you have
probably
any Harry Potter?
First edition only. No. So I'm looking through all these nonfiction books. Sorry, thanks for that catch. And it's like okay, like it's stuff that I'm like, it's like, just these books that are like third edition, fourth edition. They're like $20, $30, $50.
Very stupid question. I'm pretty sure I understand how editions work.
Yes.
But let's talk about like old rare books. A first edition is like when they make and print a run of books. Is it like, well, we think we're going to need 5,000, so they print 5,000 and that's the first edition?
Pretty much.
Is that what that means? Or is it, or do they change it somehow where it's like a republishing?
No, well, it's the first edition is the first copy of the book. So if you buy a first edition, that is the first printing that you could go buy at the store or at a book.
Yeah, it's the first time they produced it.
Well, sometimes they have like, there's other stuff that's like goes to press, like media editions, and there's some like different editions and things that are out there that are kind of rare. I'm not like a rare book aficionado or anything like that. I hope I'm not wrong.
No, I'm just like, I wouldn't know what I'm even asking for if I was like, oh, these are only third editions. Come on, guy. And so that's just like the run that they did.
Yes,
because I'm assuming it's like manufacturing anything else, right? So it's like they only produced so many because they were like, oh, well, this is how many we're going to need or want to sell. And then later they reproduce them, and that's
they change. Sometimes they change the foreword, or the author changes some things in the book. And I also kind of like just having the first one as like the collectibility of it. I don't know.
I know enough to know that that's the collectible.
I'm looking at these books. I'm like,
okay, yeah.
And I go to the guy. I'm like, is this it? He goes, oh, you're looking for something nicer. Come with me. Long story short, so we can get to the point here. He takes me into this back room. I'm like, I'm looking for expedition, exploration, whatever. He's like, this section right here. And he's got a section dedicated to like exploration.
Cool.
Expeditions to like Antarctica and Alaska and the North Pole.
Shackleton.
Yes. And that would be a very expensive book, but he didn't. Well, maybe he did have one of those. There were some books that were like $300, $400, $500. There's books that are like $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. There's just like crazy amount of a book. Like I would really love to have a first edition of The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck, which is kind of this. It is a book about kind of like growing up in the Dust Bowl and like this Dust Bowl period, which is where my family came from, is like the Dust Bowl. So I kind of wanted this book. There's actually a funny story with that book is all of the notes that were taken to write that. I don't know the title of the book. Don't hate me. All of the notes that were written, gained to write that book, because he wasn't from there. He just wrote the book about this place. So you had to get the notes. So we got this notes from this woman without her permission for a book that she was going to write, and then he published the book. And we didn't find out about this till like decades later. Now her book has been recently published in like 2000 something or whatever, and I really want to read it. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe someone, if you're interested, send me a DM. I've got it in my want to read books list. Actually, I might have purchased it, but anyway. So I'm looking at all these books, and I like started pulling all these books off the shelves about expeditions and this and that and sailing. Oh my gosh, these guys have sailed. This guy I even got a book about like discovering the Mississippi River and everything that it took to do it. And the Mississippi River used to have rapids. Oh my God. And you're reading all these different things, and people died a lot. They really died.
Turns out. Yeah,
a lot, and we're going to talk about that.
Hold on, before we get any further, and I know this is going to take forever now. What is the most expensive book you've purchased, Antique? The only reason I ask is like, at what point do you? Because I don't care about the answer, you don't have to tell me. But at what point do you have to like start insuring books? And like, I would be worried to have it out on a bookshelf versus like, oh, this goes in the safe or in like the glass climate controlled vault.
That's what your umbrella policy is for.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times you need to itemize and claim and get.
Yes, you need to have receipts. Items. You need to have. Well, yeah. I have like an itemized receipt of when I bought them from the guy that's got the values and stuff like that. Cool. I don't have anything worth more than a few $100, like $200. Like I don't have anything.
That makes me feel
crazy.
better for you. But also, I know you're insured now, thanks to me, so we're good.
Thanks to you, and we can talk about that on another episode down the road when things have come to a reasonable conclusion.
Fully. Yes.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay, so exploration, people dying.
Okay, so I love this topic. I have lots of books. Like I have The Bloody Bozeman, which is the discovery of Montana. I've got The Great Expedition. It's like a book written about the Mississippi River and like when we first bought Louisiana from the Spanish and just before then, and people were getting arrested by the Spanish. I've got books about the gold rush and going out there. And I'm kind of fascinated by this because my family was one of the people that got a warrant to go get land in Kansas, and they went and they got the land. And so it's like this whole concept is, I don't know if it's in my blood or what, but I'm super, super curious about it. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and everybody knows like Lewis and Clark, like went and like mapped out, went out west for, Jefferson had them go out there and do it. And I'm like, okay, thousands of people went west. They think that like 15 to 20%. Did you know
Lewis and Clark, by the way, because I looked up a bunch of fun facts here, which I didn't write down, which sucks. But there's a name of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And like Lewis and Clark, these guys get all of the glory, along with, of course, Sacagawea and the slave guy. I forget his name because he was notorious as well, that they had this guy that also helped them. There was like 35 people on that expedition.
Yes, there was many of them. And we will talk about one of them today. Yes. That gets no glory, no credit. Most of the people we're going to talk about today, and this is a 3-episode series, so I'm going to do 3 or 4 of these. This is big. These are great stories. I've got some really. We're gonna start, and we're gonna. It's impossible to believe, but we're gonna get better as time goes on. These are in no particular order. Okay,
it's not chronological or anything like that. Okay,
not chronological, just great stories. One thing that you'll notice, and maybe I'll just skip reading my intro and just talk about it.
No, I want you to. I know I'm screwing you up because I know where you're going with this is what the precipice was for a lot of this exploration. I think is where you're going with that.
Yeah,
and so I want you to reveal it as you want it. So let's get into it. We know why you were interested in this was the books, and it's some cool freaking people. So let's get into it.
So I want you, Jake, and the audience to try and think about what it was like to be 23 years old in the late 1700s. Okay.
It seems like it was that long since I was 23.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. The Revolutionary War is over. You have survived. You're 17 or 18 when you signed up, a younger son from a farming family with no land coming to you. English stock, maybe Scots-Irish, maybe German. You owned what you wore. The Continental Army paid privates $6 a month. You ate a hunk of meat and a bit of bread a day when it showed up, and you slept in the mud next to other boys from every colony during the war. You marched in shoes that fell apart, and then you marched without them. At Valley Forge, you watched men die of disease in frozen ground while Congress argued about money in a warm room a mere 100 miles away. Now you're home. Your father's farm is small, and the soil is tired. Virginia's tobacco ground has been planted and replanted, and it doesn't give back anymore. And if you're a younger son, the land just goes to the older brother. Congress owes you years of back pay, and they don't have it. What they have is paper, land warrants, a certificate that says you can claim acreage past the Appalachians in a territory the government won but never set foot in. Most soldiers sold those warrants to speculators for almost nothing, which I think is crazy. Can you imagine having a land warrant to go stake your claim and they just sell them for like pennies on the dollar?
I was thinking about this a lot, this specific concept, and there's two things that are like, it boggles my mind. It's hard to comprehend. One is that there was just massive swaths of land that were not like they were just there.
They were just there.
That sounds so dumb to say, but like this was not a colonized or an actual like what is the other part? Because this is, yes, I know you got papers where they say like this is your part of your.
Look at that, Jake.
Is it just
160 acres?
Right. So here's my question: does it tell you where specifically these 160 acres are, or is it you go for it, go find 160 acres, mark it out, and you get it? Because I've seen that where they all like race off and they try to like parcel it out. Okay.
So we're talking over the course of like 100 years. So we're kind of going through like after the Revolutionary War and the Civil War and in these periods of times. So there's lots of different ways that it was done. Yeah, they had the races and stuff like that. But also it was like, hey, we're going to do Kansas now. Here's the plots. Go you can have this one if you get there. And that's what my family did. They went from Pennsylvania to Kansas. And when my ancestor got there, he said the grass was as high as a man on a horse. And he staked his plot and slept in a cave that he dug out of the side of next to a river. He like dug out a little cave thing for him to sleep in while his family was back in Pennsylvania until he was able to turn over the land, which turning over fresh land with grass like that with one horse, pretty crazy stuff.
Take forever.
Pretty crazy.
Well, and that's why, you think about like, oh, these people would just sell, their paper, their rights for like pennies.
Yeah.
It's because
it was hard.
In civilization, at least here you have something established, whether it's, a meager, terrible life. But as far as that's just death out there. There's nothing.
Hey, not everybody's brave. And this was, it took nuts. So you've stood in formation while cannonballs skip through the ranks. You've watched a grape shot take men apart. The wilderness to you maybe doesn't do that. The river doesn't aim. The cold is patient, but maybe not too hostile. To you, crossing into the unknown country feels like something you can manage. And that naive sentiment killed a lot of men. Nature doesn't need to aim. It freezes you slowly. It starved them quietly, put a river between them and safety, and then raised the water. The tribes who'd lived there for centuries knew the land. And the men walking into it with a rifle and a land warrant were not welcome, to say the least.
Definitely not.
Then, later on, the country broke in half, and it all repeated. The same calculation. You've looked at them in the face, there's nothing behind you, and there's still a lot of empty map. These men learned the tribes by living with them, fighting with them, or both. Most died young, and most of them died alone. Here are 12 that made their mark on the great American West.
Manifest destiny. Did we talk about that concept at all?
Oh, tell me about it.
I'm not going to. I don't know enough about it. This was a 7th grade American history class, but it was the concept or the period where it was this great expansion out to the west from.
I mean, think about
States.
Oregon Trail, this Gold Rush, all this stuff was just like, well, there's nothing here for me.
And I think a lot of it was kind of the mindset of like this is our right almost, or this is our destiny that we need to manifest. Hence the term manifest destiny.
America's very, very interesting because I feel like America has been the great talent, courage, and drain on Europe. If you think about over the years, like who came here from Britain? You didn't just like be kind of a cowardly dude and come over here. No, you had a set of stones. You got on a ship and you went to the new land.
Not only that, though, most of the time it was the destitute. It was the,
desperate.
You weren't the upper class and just bored and like wanted to come over.
Well, there's probably some of that too.
Yes, but you had like you're established. It was well established, right? You're not just like fairly well off and you're like, I'm gonna just go over and try to plot new land myself.
My thesis is that the two great wars in the 17 and 1800s, then you have the War of 1812, all these different things, all these different wars that happened really bred a certain kind of men, and there was a certain kind of society. I mean, anytime men come back from war, they have a lot of sex and do really well for the country that they're in. Look at the baby boomers, the greatest generation. All these different things are a product of that, and I think this was partially that too. But just on think of like all of the immigration that happened too, all of the Ellis Island, where all the people that were entrepreneurs, desperate people that wanted to fight and claw their way into something, they all left Western Europe and some of Eastern Europe and came here, and that drained out of Europe. And now look at Europe. I mean, it's a bunch of bootlickers over there now. That's pretty much all that remains.
We won't get into geopolitical turmoil.
All right,
how it's currently.
Let's go to our first guy. Okay.
All right.
In 1809, I tried to not write too many dates in here because it sounds like a history lesson.
And I also, it is confusing to me because I tried to keep track of like, okay, when is this guy from? Like, what is this time period? Because 1809 is more recent than some of the later folks.
Yes. But this is, a lot of these men started doing things before the dates. So a lot of these guys have very complex stories, and I have kind of cherry picked ones that I think that are interesting to tell some stories about what kind of men these were. So this is by no means the quintessential version of their life. All right, so we're kind of doing this for
not
fun,
the full biography, because turns out there's a lot of misinformation. There's like didn't have. There was no documentary being filmed about them at the time, right? There's no autobiographical.
Just you wait till this one guy later. I think it's our last guy, our middle guy today. All right. Okay. In 1809, the Upper Missouri is as far from civilization as a white man can get. There's no roads, no towns, and no forts worth a name. There is grass and sky and river and silence, stretching in every direction until it runs into mountains that are further away than they could ever look. If a horse breaks a leg, the rider walks. If the rider breaks a leg, he dies where he falls. The Blackfeet own this country. They've owned it longer than the United States has existed, and they do not want anyone else there. John Colter chose this twice. Yes, go ahead.
What? So, I'm should be notorious bad at geography. So I had to like remind myself where Missouri was, which is of course just on the other side of Illinois. There's St. Louis there, and just below Iowa.
Yes.
So that
Chase,
was
you don't know where.
In 1809, that was still like the middle of nowhere.
That was still the middle of nowhere.
Huh. That seems bizarre to me. Okay.
Dude, that's only like 20 years after the Revolutionary War. 25 years.
Yeah, I guess.
Where the colonies were.
We
founded.
are a young country, aren't we?
Yes.
Because I think of like,
it's 250 years.
Yeah, like my grandma can tell me about her parents from 1900, right? And so it wasn't that much further before than that. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's not actually.
Well, this country grew very fast. It's a very opportune time. The Industrial Revolution. It was the ideal. Oh gosh, I don't want to get into American history. Let's just stick with our boys, okay?
Got it.
All right. John Colter signed on with Lewis and Clark in 1803. A hunter, a scout, the kind of man that you would set ahead alone because he came back with meat, information, and no complaints. He was with them for 3 years. He saw the Pacific. He saw a country that would take another generation to settle. When the expedition turned home in 1806, almost back to St. Louis, Colter asked to leave. He'd met 2 trappers headed upriver and wanted to go with them. Lewis and Clark let him go. He turned around and walked back into the wilderness. What do you think he got paid?
The Corps of Discovery Expedition, by the way, is the name of the actual name of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The Corps of Discovery Expedition.
What do you think you got paid a month to go on the Corps of Discovery? What do you think Colter made?
It's
like,
here's the problem too. These numbers mean nothing to me without knowing like what the like inflation, the relative value of it was. Like, I bet you got paid three new Chevy Silverados.
All right.
I'm trying to think of a metric.
$5.
Okay.
$5 a month. So that's what is that? Calculate.
That's what I mean. Like, okay, is that great? Like, are you rich? I don't know.
$150. So this guy got paid $150 to hang out with Lewis and Clark and go on the expedition.
That can't be accurate.
Well, you also have to keep in mind that the value of the dollar itself and what it purchased was a lot different back then.
Well, that's what I mean.
The buying power of the dollar has greatly decreased.
All right. Anyways, so not being paid what it's worth to risk your life in that.
No, it is not. But you got to keep in mind going from 5 to 150 is a lot different from going from like 500 to 1500 because that's only a 300% increase. This is like a 1200. What is it? A 2,791% increase. You got to look at $5 as a percentage of $144.60. Not, if $5 and $144 in your mindset of today, what $5 and $144 is.
Yeah,
this
like
is a
I
dumb
said,
conversation. Let's keep going.
Doesn't matter. The numbers mean nothing.
Colter would not see the city again for 4 years after turning around and walking back into the wilderness. Manuel Lisa hired him the following year. He was a fur trader out of St. Louis. He was one of the first persons to build permanent trading posts in Missouri.
Clearly
he was building,
a Frenchman.
Manuel Lisa. Maybe. Lisa? I don't know what kind of...
No, you think Spanish? Actually, Manuel could be Spanish.
Could be Spanish. He's building a trading post at the mouth of the Bighorn at the time and needed someone to find the Crow tribe and convince them to come and trade. He sent Colter alone.
Do we know if the Crow were friendly? Did they know if the Crow were friendly?
Let's keep going, shall we?
Yeah.
He sent Colter alone on foot in winter, 500 miles through country no white man had ever seen, which is the norm out there. The snow in the northern Rockies buries everything. The rivers ice over and the game moves to lower ground. Colter walked through it carrying his rifle, some ammunition, and whatever he could trap or kill along the way, sleeping in the open or dug into the snow. There is no account of how he navigated, no record of how many days it took or how close he came to dying, just that he left in November and came back in the spring with the information Lisa wanted, 500 miles alone in the winter. On that walk, He became the first white man to lay eyes on what is now Yellowstone. He came through a valley where water shot out of the ground and columns and hot springs steamed in the frozen air. Can you imagine seeing this stuff for the first time?
I was just gonna say,
unbelievable.
Like what is that? I've walked into hell. I've walked into hell.
All of this
what I would
stuff.
think.
All of this stuff was completely dismissed as fantasy, Jake. No one believed him.
I know. Well, would you, if the guy comes back, is like, all right, guy, I realize you've been out in the wilderness by yourself for 6 months, and you're claiming there's water shooting in the sky. Sure there is.
Sure there is.
Colter.
A little bit of that with the little peace pipe.
Okay,
little
Colter,
peace pipe.
What else did you see?
This Yellowstone wasn't officially documented until the Hayden Survey of 1871. That was 60 years later after Colter died.
Yeah.
So they all laughed at him. They called it Colter's Hell.
That's what.
The man had walked 500 miles through the winter and came back with a story nobody believed. In the fall of 1808, Colter and a man named John Potts paddled up the Jefferson River to check their traps. They worked at night, setting the traps after dawn, pulling them before dawn, and hiding themselves during the day.
Mm-hmm.
After dark, sorry. Colter still had a wound in his leg from the last time he'd fought the Blackfeet. There's a lot of tribes. We don't need to try and discern who all the tribes are here. Jake.
I know.
It's one thing I've learned about doing this through all 12 of these guys is the diversity of the Native American tribes during this time.
I did look into this a little bit for my own just curiosity. So the Blackfeet was like the major controlling tribe in that area at the time. They weren't like the small one. They were like the majority.
Okay. One morning, they heard movement on the bank above them. Hundreds of hooves. Potts said buffalo. Colter said Indians. Several hundred Blackfeet appeared on the bank and motioned for the men to come ashore. Come on, come ashore, roll ashore. Colter went. He did not have a choice, and he told Potts to come in too, but an Indian grabbed Potts' rifle before he could get out of the canoe. Colter snatched it back and handed it to Potts, who pushed off into the river instead of coming ashore. An arrow hit him. Colter told him to paddle in. Instead, Potts leveled his rifle and shot one of the warriors straight dead. He knew what they'd do to him if they took him alive. The Blackfeet filled him with arrows until, in Colter's own words, he was made a riddle of. They stripped Colter naked. Clothes, moccasins, knife, they all came off or were taken. They discussed how to kill him, and some just wanted target practice. The chief stopped them and walked Colter out onto the open plain, about 300 yards from the group, and asked him if he could run fast. Colter spoke enough to understand what was happening. In his head, he knew he was one of the fastest men on the frontier. He told the chief he was slow. They let him go.
How do you know you're one of the fastest men on the frontier?
You just got that kind of vibe, Jake. You just got that kind of vibe. Behind him, the war whoop went up. Several hundred men started running. 6 miles of flat open plain between Colter and the Madison River, his goal. No trees, no cover, nothing but sagebrush and prickly pear cactus. He was barefoot, naked, and every step drove thorns into his feet. The plain was wide and dry, and there was nowhere to hide on it. The sound behind him was nothing but hundreds of men screaming. Halfway across, blood started pouring from his nose, running down his chest and covering his skin. He looked back once. Most of the warriors had fallen behind, but one man was close, maybe 100 yards or so. He was sprinting at full chat, carrying a spear, gaining. A mile from the river, the man with the spear was about 20 yards back, close enough to throw it. So Colter suddenly stopped and spun around and spread his arms wide and let out a blood-curdling war scream at the man. The warrior stumbled, tripped, fell forward, and his spear broke under him as he hit the ground. Colter grabbed the broken point and drove it into the man before he could get up. He quickly took the man's blanket and kept running. He reached the Madison and went in. The water was cold. Downstream, a raft of driftwood had jammed up against an island, and he dove under it, wedging himself into the tangle with his face barely above water, breathing through the gaps between the logs. The Native Americans came to the bank. He could hear them, could see them through the cracks in the wood above him. They walked on the raft. They searched the banks. For hours, he stayed under there, chin deep in the river, his whole body shivering from the cold, waiting for them to set wood on the fire. Every sound above him could have been the last thing he ever heard. They didn't light it. After dark, he slipped out of his makeshift hide and swam downstream, where he climbed out on the bank to start the only thing he could do: walk. Fort Raymond was 200 miles to the east, and it was the only place he knew to go. He was naked, could barely walk. His feet were shredded with cactus thorns. No food, no weapon, no tools. The only thing he had was a dead man's blanket. He walked for 7 days, eating nothing but roots and bark. The sun burned him during the day, and the cold froze him at night. When he stumbled through the gate at Fort Raymond, there wasn't a soul in the place that recognized him. He went back to Three Forks twice more after that. The Blackfeet found him both times, and the second time, 2 of his partners were killed. He finally walked away for good, back to St. Louis in 1810, the first time in a city in nearly 6 years. He bought a farm, married a woman named Sally, and had a son. He sat with William Clark and gave him a detailed report of everything he'd seen out there, filling in the blank spaces on Clark himself's maps. When the War of 1812 started, he enlisted and died in service. Not from a bullet, not from the Blackfeet, jaundice. He was 38.
Wow.
Yeah. So this guy was illiterate. He couldn't read or write. So
Yeah,
all of
I
this
guess.
is him dictating.
Yeah.
And sitting with Clark and telling him his story. This is what happened. So, this is maybe a little bit of a big fish story, but pretty crazy nonetheless. I mean, the guy obviously walked back 200 miles. We'll give him that, yeah?
Yeah. Wow.
And then went back out again. That's what I don't understand.
Well,
is like
exactly. Yeah.
What else do you know? It's not like you're going to be like, well, I guess I'll stay home and watch Netflix and Apple TV. I'm just really tired of doing this. If it's all you know, it's all you know. It's like men that...
I don't like trap locally. Start the farm earlier. I don't know.
All right, next guy.
All right, so that was
You might
Colter.
Yes, Mr. Colter.
Colter.
You will.
What's his face?
You might. Colter what? John Colter.
I was trying to remember his name. John Colter. Thank you.
Yeah. In 1822, an ad ran in a St. Louis newspaper. William Ashley and Andrew Henry wanted enterprising young men to ascend the Missouri River as fur trappers. Jedidiah Smith signed up at 23 years old. He could read and write, unlike Colter, which put him ahead of most of the men around him. He did not drink. He did not use tobacco. He did not swear. The men he'd be working with did all of those things. He was born in New York. He'd read the Lewis and Clark journals as a boy, and that's what started all of this. He grew up moving west with his family through New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Tall, thin, blue-eyed, quiet. He carried a Bible wherever he went. His favorite books were that and the expedition journals, the 2 things that defined his entire life he'd found before he was just 15. He had like 11 brothers and sisters, by the way.
I mean, yeah, it was a good Presbyterian family, I assume.
Yes, he was a Puritan.
Puritan, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Within a year of signing on with Ashley and Henry, they gave him a command of a party headed deep into the Black Hills. So he'd already kind of like, ooh, this is the guy. You're a year in, they're already giving you you're in charge of
wow.
There, as he led his men through brush looking for the crow to trade horses with, a grizzly came out of the thicket before Smith could get his gun up. The bear tackled him to the ground, broke several ribs, clawed his side wide open, and closed its jaws around his head. It tore his scalp clean off from his eyebrow to his ear, leaving it hanging by nothing but a strip of skin. Yeah. The bear was in and out and bolted back into the brush as fast as it had come.
That was it?
That was it. His men gathered around him, and the sight of it made some of them quite sick. There's blood everywhere. His scalp hung off his skull, and you could see his ribs. He stayed calm, calmer than any man that had, looking like that, had the right to be. He told Jim Kleiman to get a needle and a thread and sew them back together. Kleiman stitched the scalp piece by piece in the middle of the wilderness, laying the torn skin together as best he could with his hands. When he got to the ear, he said, "Sorry, man. There's really nothing I could do." He said, quote, "I put my needle, sticking it through and over, laced the lacerated parts together as nice as I could with my hands." Anyway, he wore his hair long on one side for the rest of his life to cover the scars. The only known portrait of the man, painted after his death, shows it that way. I think Mrs. Producer is going to pull this.
I would. Here. I was also. Yeah, I would wear it that way as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it's good thing he kept a good head of hair to cover that up. Over the next 3 years, Smith rediscovered South Pass in Wyoming and became a partner in the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. So these guys would they would trap a fur. It would cost them like $1, or they could even trade for a fur from the Indians, and they would make like 100-time return. This was a really, really lucrative business.
So, yeah, I read about this. It would be 100x for like street value in Europe. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
It's
it's very, very lucrative trapping and fur trapping. It's there's like a trapping rush, very similar to the gold rush that happened.
Mm-hmm. Wait, is this guy that walks forever?
We'll get there.
Okay, this is. But yeah, I got your guys mixed up because he finds out, or he has firsthand knowledge of just how lucrative this can be. No, I'm not giving anything away. I'm trying to keep myself straight here as well.
Keep yourself. Keep it under control.
Fun fact. Speaking of your scalp showing and being exposed, I'm not going there yet. Fun fact.
Okay.
You know what would have made all of this much easier? You know, like exploring and like you wouldn't need any of these guys. You wouldn't get lost. You wouldn't have to walk 500 miles the wrong way if they all had.
Let me rephrase what you're saying. Hold on. Let me rephrase what you're saying.
Okay. You got it.
There is one company that can trace its foundation all the way back to many of these men.
Yeah.
Is the way that I would put it. And
I like that.
That would be our friends over at Onyx.
That's right. Yeah, if you're looking for the best app for navigating your next adventure, hopefully it's not quite as harrowing as the guys we're talking about here, but you should use Onyx Off-Road. They have over 750,000 miles of trails, comprehensive offline maps, and as we know, they have folks that are actively exploring, mapping, and rating these trails themselves. So you can know if you can actually, ford the like dried up ditch in your 911 or maybe not at all. So it's real-time data. It's actually people that have explored these things. They also have trail ratings, detailed information, a discover tool to help you find trails near you. There's all sorts of awesome features in the app that are honestly being released like all the time. Like there are new features that we're just learning about as well. If you want to stay connected, it features a cell service layer so you can plan a route with service in mind. Basically, you have all of these awesome features, real-time updates, route sharing. Try it free for 7 days and hit the trails with confidence. Download Onyx Off-Road today.
All right. So Smith.
So here's what I was going to say. Fun fact. Sorry. So when I learned about this guy and the fact that his scalp got torn off by a bear, it's also another phenomenon brought to mind during this period, which was scalping.
Oh, scalping. Yes.
Yeah, the military practice, or the war, I should say the wartime practice of scalping, which was not, I learned, unique to just Native Americans. Like there are a lot of other cultures that would scalp their enemies as a prize. But there are also horrifyingly accounts of people that got scalped and then just weren't killed, or they like escaped after being scalped and played dead. And so my question is like, do you literally just have your skull showing for the rest of your life? And if they did survive, which there are accounts of, your skin will grow back over your skull.
What?
Yeah. That's what I read, Chris, and I don't like it, but that's how this guy also survived.
Maybe there's hope for me then. Maybe I should just start over.
Just cut it all off. Yeah, no, I don't think you'll grow hair, but
Oh, so it'll just look the same.
Yeah, Anyways,
So-
I don't know that came to mind as well. So,
Yikes. Smith rediscovered the South Pass in Wyoming, and the South Pass is this kind of like this wide crossing of the Continental Divide, Wyoming.
how do you rediscover it? Was it discovered?
Yeah, it's. I think he discovered it originally. The Continental Divide. Without it, the Oregon Trail doesn't exist. So he was the first one that discovered. Hey, you can take wagons through here.
Sure.
By 1826, he was leading an expedition southwest from the Great Salt Lake into the desert, through southwestern Utah, down the river, across the Mojave Desert, and into the Spanish settlements at San Gabriel, California. He was the first American to travel overland to California.
Wow.
Did not have a Safari 911. Still able to make it happen. The Mexican governor arrested him, told him to leave, and then let him go. Smith left most of his men camped on the Stanislaus River in California and took 2 men. I've been to the Stanislaus Forest, too. It's kind of cool knowing I've been to some of these places. In California, it took 2 men east to cross the Sierra Nevada and back to the rendezvous. It was spring, and the deep snow still buried the passes. They tried in April and got turned back, losing mules in the drifts. The snow was too deep to move through with loaded animals. So they retreated down the western slope and waited. In late May, they tried again. 8 days through the mountains, the snow so deep that they could only cover 2 miles a day. They lost 2 horses and a mule that sank through the crust and could not be pulled out. Smith and his 2 men kept going on foot, carrying what they could, and they crossed the divide and to come down the eastern side of the Great Basin. 600 miles of desert stretched between them and the rendezvous that they were looking for at Bear Lake, where they'd meet the rest of their men. Summer was hitting the basin, and the sand reflected the heat upward. There was no water anywhere, and no map to help find any. No Onyx, right?
Yeah.
They walked east into nothing on a trail to nowhere. The remaining horses slowed, stopped, and died. When the last one went down, they cut the meat off of it and carried what they could, the weight lightening as they ate stringy horse meat until it was gone. The days ran together, indistinguishable from one another. Sand, sun, sagebrush, dry lake beds that shimmered like water from a distance turned out to be nothing but cracked, white dust. Hope was about all that was left. One of the 2 men collapsed and could not stand. He told them to go on without him. Smith must have looked at the man on the ground and known that leaving him meant killing him. He and Robert Evans pushed on, leaving the man behind. After 2 more miles, they found water. They filled what they had and walked back. The man was right where they left him, face down in the sand. They grabbed him under the arms and dragged him the 2 full miles to the water. His legs traced lines in the dirt behind him the whole way.
Couldn't they have given him the water that they filled up?
I don't think they had. They probably drank it and then went back to get him. It's 2 miles in the desert.
Yeah, they didn't have a canteen, I guess.
No, probably not. Well, they might have. I don't know. I didn't get an inventory.
Yikes.
44 days after leaving his men on the Stanislaus River. Plus, the guy it's not Pervitin. You don't just give the guy some water and he pops right up and starts walking. Jeez, man. Cut the guy a break. He passed out in the desert.
Come on, guy. Wow.
44 days after leaving his men on the Stanislaus River, the 3 of them stumbled into the rendezvous at Bear Lake. Smith's partners had given him up for dead. He'd been gone for over a year. He then rested for 10 days. Then he went back. This time, he took 18 men to the south on the longer route to California. He knew the desert crossing would kill a larger party now that he had a little bit of experience, as we know. So he took them down the Colorado to the Mojave villages. The Mojave folk had been friendly the year before. They weren't anymore. Other
boy.
trappers had passed through since Smith's first visit, caused problems, and killed tribal members, their reputation spoiling the passage for these peaceful men. The Mojave were waiting. Mid-crossing, they attacked the men. 10 of Smith's 18 were killed in the river. All the horses were taken, leaving Smith and 8 survivors to walk the rest of the way to California. The Mexican governor arrested him again and again, eventually releasing him each and every time. Smith eventually bought 300 horses and mules and drove them north up the Sacramento Valley, trapping as he went. The plan was to reach the Columbia River and loop back to the Rockies, but the valley flooded with a spring melt and the herd bogged down in the marshes. He couldn't find a route east through the mountains, so he cut west to the coast and went north. On the Umpqua River in Oregon, while Smith and 2 men were away from camp scouting a river crossing, the Kelwadaset attacked. 15 of the 18 men were killed. They took everything: furs, horses, equipment, all of it gone. Smith and the survivors walked north to Fort Vancouver, where the British took them in. He wrote a letter to his brother Ralph saying, quote, "You may well suppose that our society is one of the roughest type. Men of good morals seldom enter into business of this kind." He also said, "I have need of your prayers to bear me up before the throne of grace." There's a little bit of guilt here. In 1830, Smith sold his shares in the company and settled in St. Louis. 8 years in the wilderness. He bought a house and sent money to his father. His mother had died while he was gone. He started a trading business and began planning to publish his maps and journals, the kind of work that might have changed the story of westward expansion if he had lived long enough to finish it. On May 27th, 1831, Smith rode ahead of a trading expedition on the Santa Fe Trail to scout for water. A Comanche war party found him out there alone. His body was never recovered. He was 32. His journals went largely unpublished. His maps circulated secondhand through people who never credited him. A proper biography for this man did not appear until 1953, over 100 years too late.
Wow.
He explored more of the American West than any single person before or since, and he did all of it between 23 and 32 years old. So we have him to thank for the Oregon Trail. We have him to thank for the Pony Express and for U.S. Highway 50. People still drive this road today, and they don't even think about this guy.
I was just thinking about the sheer expanse that he traveled. Like, you and I have driven across the country several times.
What if every time we tried, someone stole our car and we had to walk home?
Like, yeah, you don't even comprehend. Like, even driving,
with nothing.
You're like, wow, this is far. Like, this
with
sucks.
Nothing, Jake. With nothing. They steal your car.
You walk.
And then you have nothing. And you just start walking with nothing. We would be dead.
Yeah.
We'd be dead. You and I would die. We would be absolutely screwed.
Why is Owen Wilson there?
Mrs. Producer.
That's Owen Wilson from Shanghai.
Open your microphone, Mrs. Producer.
Pretty sure. Is that not Owen Wilson from the movie Shanghai Noon? Oh. Why is that better?
Oh,
what? Really?
Jedidiah Smith is Owen Wilson in Night at the Museum.
Really?
There you go.
Why does he look like a cowboy and not an explorer?
Well, it's Owen Wilson, and B, this is Hollywood. So
okay,
yeah, there you go. All right. In the late summer of 1823, we're advancing in years a little bit here. A man is lying face down in the dirt in what will someday be South Dakota. A grizzly bear just tore his back open. His ribs are showing, his leg is broken, and his throat has a hole in it. 2 men were supposed to stay with him until he died and bury him properly, as they should. They took his rifle, his knife, and his flint and laid a bear hide over him and left him. The nearest help, 200 miles south. He can't even stand.
He can't even
walk.
walk.
He can't do anything. That is where Hugh Glass woke up. Not much is known about this man before then. He was born around 1783, probably Pennsylvania. There are stories he was captured by the pirate Jean Lafitte and forced to serve on his crew before escaping. There were stories he lived with the Pawnee for years and learned to forage and find water on an open prairie, to read terrain the way the literate man reads a book. It's all smoke and none of it can be confirmed. He showed up in St. Louis, answered the same Ashley Henry ad as Jedidiah Smith did, signed on. In late August, the expedition was moving overland near the forks. If you're not watching, you should be watching the podcast. I need a portrait of me like that. Look up.
Yeah,
I'll never be that rugged.
How old was the guy at this point?
He was summer of 1823 is when this happens. He's 40. He's 40 years old when this happened.
Wow, he was 40 when it happened?
Yeah, 40 when the bear attacked him. In late August, the expedition
I'm
he was
not
on
even
was
40, and I can't imagine healing that well or at all anymore.
Stop it. In late August, the expedition was moving overland near the forks of the Grand River. Glass was out ahead, scouting for game. He walked into a thicket and found himself face to face with a mother grizzly and 2 cubs. She was on him before he could do anything about it, slamming into the ground, biting into his back, and tearing his flesh open. She broke his leg, ripped at his throat until there was a hole in it, and clawed him until his ribs were showing through his back. His men heard him screaming, ran in, and killed the bear. They pulled her off him, and the sight of what was underneath was about as bad as anything those men had ever seen. Andrew Henry thought they couldn't stay. Arikara, that was one of Ashley's business partners, who led the overland group there. The Arikara were close, and Indian tribe were close, and every day they sat was a day they might get found. He could not hang around. They'll find you. Henry offered payment for 2 men to stay behind, tend him until he died, and give him a proper burial. I'll pay you. Just bury me. Don't leave me alone.
Bury him. It was the group leader was like, hey, we need to take care of him.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
He's gonna die.
Someone's gonna stay
just to hang out.
Yes, you're right. The other guy was not telling too many stories at that point in time.
Yeah.
He was a little under the weather. They wanted him to attend to Glass until he died and give him proper burial. John Fitzgerald, an experienced frontiersman, volunteered. So did a kid named Jim Bridger, 19 years old. There's a third of his men, Bridger. We're not sure if this is the Jim Bridger, the legendary mountain man, but it's accepted. I didn't really dig into him too much. All right, 5 days go by. 5 days. He's got his throat's torn open. He can't move. This man would not die. His eyes moved and he breathed, but with a gaping hole in his throat, he couldn't talk. He also couldn't move and he could not eat. Fitzgerald was convinced that the Arikara were going to find them at any moment. 5 days watching a man breathe who should have stopped long ago, knowing that every hour they stayed was another hour closer to getting killed themselves. Eventually, he talked Bridger into leaving. So, since the guy was dead anyway, they took the rifle, the knife, his flint, everything a man needed to survive, placed him next to a stream, laid the bear's hide over him like a shroud, and walked away. In their minds, they were burying a dead man who just hadn't finished dying yet. Imagine like that. You're Hugh Glass, and you're next to the river, and these guys slowly pull this bear hide over you and go, God bless. See you later. See you in the next life. And they just leave you. And you're under this pelt.
So, but by now people realize that this is the story that the movie The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio.
This is the story of the Revenant. Yes.
Yeah, that I mean, say what you will about many inaccuracies that we'll talk about later, but they did a very good job of portraying.
Do you have some inaccuracies? Do you have a little bit to talk about? I don't have any of that.
Sure I do. Oh, really? No?
Yeah, I didn't dig into that. I don't have time for that. But
first
if you want to talk.
This was South Dakota. This was the plains. If you remember the movie, it was the woods and the mountains, which was actually filmed up in Canada and then also in Argentina, I believe. So totally different.
Let me get through this, and then you can tell me all your things, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Yeah, no. That was the big one that doesn't matter. But there's another bigger one at the end.
Okay.
But anyway, all I was gonna say is that drama or that mentality of like leaving him there that was, I think, captured very well by the movie. Like, that was a haunting movie. Oh,
Wow.
is it
Fantastic.
Mr. Hugh Glass himself?
It is. It is from the dead. Mrs. Producer sent me a note. Says the same man who left Hugh Glass for dead later lied to the Donner Party about Hastings cutoff, sending them to their fate. Mrs. Producer,
Really?
you got to be kidding me. This guy sucks.
because that was the other inaccuracy in the movie The Revenant. Like, the whole thing, Hugh's like motivation for keeping on was revenge for leaving him. When in
Yes.
reality, Hugh
That's him. That's the guy. That's the coward right there. That's the coward.
But
no, that's
in
all right,
reality, it's said that Hugh didn't blame them at all. He's like, he doesn't
Yeah.
feel revenge. He didn't go out and kill them. He did not kill those people as they did in Revenant.
but it was
he
a
forgave
motivation.
them.
He's like, yeah, he did. He eventually, now that we've gotten to the end of the story and spoiled it, yes, he eventually does forgive them. But
Yeah.
I believe it was his motivation was to kill them. Like that was one of
Really?
his motivations to
okay.
survive. But
Sure.
we'll get into that in a second. So Glass sets his own broken leg. He wrapped himself in the hide that was supposed to be his burial cloth. I don't know, dude. I don't know how you set. I don't know. He wrapped himself in the bear hide that was supposed to be his burial cloth and drank from the stream. He ate berries, roots, and bugs. He killed a rattlesnake with a rock but could not chew it. So he crushed the pieces of it between stones and soaked them with water until they were soft enough to swallow. Then he started crawling south toward the Cheyenne River, navigating by a butte that he saw on the horizon. He crawled with all his muster. It was just a few yards at the time. Then he rested. Then he crawled a few more. His back was wide open. He let the maggots eat the dead flesh in his wounds. His shattered leg was splinted. At some point, he stumbled across wolves pulling down a buffalo calf. He waited in the grass until they'd had their fill, then dragged himself to the carcass. The raw meat was the first real food he'd had in days. He stayed near the kill until he'd eaten what he could stomach, then started moving again. Eventually, he could walk, just a few steps at first, then a few more, close to a mile a day. When he reached the Cheyenne River, a group of friendly Lakota, can you imagine the sight? You're just like, you're on a horse, you're this Lakota, brave or whatever, sitting up there, and this dude comes like wandering out of the forest wearing a bear pelt and like blood on his face and got a stick for a splint.
I don't think you would really realize the extent of his injury until like meeting him face to face and being like, oh, you have a broken leg and you look pretty rough. And then he takes his bear pelt off and he's like, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. They gave him a hide boat and he floated downstream. Like, can you imagine? Like, dude, I can't help you. I don't know. Here's a boat. That's it. That's what you get. You have a boat. I mean, that's pretty generous, I imagine, at the time, is to give somebody a canoe. 6 weeks after being left for dead, it's a month and a half, Glass walked through the gate at Fort Kiowa, over 200 miles, crawling, walking, floating. Broken leg, exposed ribs, a hole in his throat. At the time, he was driven by one thing. He wanted to find Fitzgerald and Bridger and kill them both.
Okay.
He recovered, went upriver, and found Bridger first. The kid was terrified, and he had every right to be. Glass looked at him for a long time. In his head, he'd been planning to kill the boy, but Bridger was 19. Glass forgave him and let him go. Fitzgerald had joined the U.S. Army, and killing a soldier happened to be a federal offense. Glass got his rifle back and moved on.
Wait,
He went back to...
Glass got his rifle back, meaning he confronted the dude and was
He
like,
probably got it from Fitzgerald.
give me my
or
gun
Bridger.
back, at least?
Yeah, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. He went back to trapping. In the winter of 1883 on the Yellowstone, the Arikara killed him and 2 companions. He was around 50 years old. The 4 earliest accounts of what happened to Hugh Glass don't agree on the distances, the timeline, or whether he crawled the whole way. They all agree on the core of it, though. A man was mauled, robbed, and left for dead, and crawled across a prairie to survival.
Whoa, look at that statue.
Oh, man, that's really cool. So years after the bear, a little footnote here, a Shoshone arrow left a metal arrowhead embedded in his back, and he endured the inflamed wound across 700 miles back to Taos, where a fellow trapper removed it with nothing but a straight razor.
Uh-huh.
Yikes. Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
probably
that's-
like a walk in the park compared to what he endured before. I also looked up, I couldn't believe that he was 50 at the time, which the life expectancy of like the global life expectancy was 43 for a man. And of a trapper was like maybe 30. Like he lived very long
Yes.
for especially enduring all those
Yeah, he was an
crazy injuries.
absolute beast. Like absolute.
Yeah.
Like,
Just the will. The will.
Have you ever
to
seen a
live
grizzly
at that
bear?
point.
you ever seen a big bear like that? They're insane. Like, go to the zoo, you see a bear, you're just like,
Well,
give me a
yeah,
break.
like in the zoo or like a mount of one. But
It's just unbelievable.
I can't imagine.
All right.
Wow.
In the winter of 1787, we'll cap things off. Do you want to tell me about any of our partners that help keep this podcast on the road here?
Yeah,
Before we go any
I was
further?
waiting for like a better point to talk about Nokia, and I suppose when they were like going through the passes that were really snowy, that would have been really opportune because if they had had Nokian tires, they would have had no
Yes.
problem traversing
Yeah.
a mountain pass, especially.
I don't know how much it would have helped them with a horse instead of a car.
I know,
we
but
can-
like assuming you have Nokians, you probably had a car to put them on at that point.
True. True.
So especially the new Hakkapeliitta that has their crazy new studded, what did they call it? I don't have it in front of me, but they have the studs that retract themselves into the tire. The automatic studs. Here it is. Hold on. I'm getting my different thing. Yeah, the double action stud technology on the Hakkapeliitta 01. They actually have automatically engaging studs for colder temperatures, which of course would be great when traversing a mountain pass. They respond through an advanced tire compound where the road temperature is at or below freezing. The rubber stays stiff and keeps the studs firmly in place. But when it's warmer, the compound softens, allowing the studs to sink deeper into the tire, which of course is great for eliminating the noise that Chris hears all the time in the winter.
Not anymore. I just in time to put my summer tires on. Now it's going to sleet and snow.
Now, apparently where I live, they're saying 7 to 9 inches of snow.
I saw one here, so I think you should check again. I think they're lying or hyping it up.
I'm sure they are.
I would like you to thank me because I put summer compound on, so it's my fault.
100%. You also could have just switched to the Supras ASO1, the other amazing tire from Nokian, which is a high-performance all-season tire specifically made for folks that want a high-performance driving tire without giving up the traction and performance and capability of the traction when roads get wet and snowy and sleety. So check them out at nokiantires.com.
In the winter of 1787, a man is walking east across.
We went backwards.
That's all right. That's all right.
No, I'm
Across-
just noting to myself. Yeah. Okay.
Ah, yes. These are all over the place, Jake. They're not in
No,
any
I know.
order.
I know.
He's walking east across Siberia.
Oh, boy.
Siberia in 1787. He's got no money, no sponsorship for the journey, no permission to be there. The plan is to cross Russia, reach the Pacific, cross the Bering Strait, and walk south through Alaska and cross the entire North American continent to Virginia. This entire plan was Thomas Jefferson's idea.
Do you think they knew how big that country or area was?
No.
Like Siberia or the
Bering Strait, how do you get
or the entire continent?
Well, we didn't have. When did we get Alaska? Was that like 1860?
It was much later.
Much later.
No, that was 1955.
No, that can't be right.
Alaska and Hawaii were very, very late, Chris.
That's statehood, not when we bought it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Because I didn't realize the 48 state
I was
flag.
close. 1867 by U.S. Secretary of State Seward. Remember, it was like Seward's Folly or something like that? Because
that's
everybody's
right,
like, this
because it was like-
is the worst idea ever.
Yeah, why would you buy that much? You wasted all that money, and they're like, oh, wait, oil. That's a thing.
Yes, it's a thing. And plus, it's
Yeah,
a
strategic.
great defense. Yeah, strategic
Yes.
thing. But we didn't know that back then. I mean, we're
but
riding horses.
Sorry. To my point, I just learned that the United States flag only had 48 stars up till 1956 or something.
Yeah, Hawaii and Alaska were not added to statehood.
That
I was
was
talking about when we owned it. It
bizarre.
was just a territory at the time.
Correct. Yes,
in the
I
18th.
understand.
So
that.
this is 80 years before that. So this is really early. So this plan, to go across all of this, was Thomas Jefferson's idea. And John Ledyard said yes immediately. He said yes to everything. That was his problem.
That was his problem.
He was born in Groton, Connecticut. His father was a sea captain who sailed for the West Indies a day after his son was born and died young. So he never knew his dad. Ledyard bounced around relatives in Hartford, ending up at Dartmouth. At Dartmouth, yes, Dartmouth. And lasted about a year. He left by building a dugout canoe and paddled 50 miles down the Connecticut River. He's been sent there to train as...
He left college in a canoe that he made.
Yes. Yeah, they actually ended up using the canoe club at Dartmouth is named after him now.
That's ironic. That's really ironic.
He eventually became a sailor, ended up in London, and got pressed into the Royal Marines. In 1776, this boy was assigned to Captain James Cook's third and final voyage. Yes, that Captain Cook, the most celebrated explorer of his age in the British Royal Navy. 3 major Pacific voyages. This was his last one. So while Washington is crossing the Delaware, Ledyard, our boy here, is standing on the coast of Alaska with Captain Cook. So,
wild. Yes. Also, why did he go over to the UK? Do we know?
He just bounced around. He became a sailor, probably rode a boat over there to
that's
right,
he was
just
a sailor.
Yeah,
I'm just curious, like, how do you get like forced into the Royal Marines or Navy as a I'm sure it's only for quote citizens, and then he's like, oh no, I'm not a citizen. They're like, yeah, right. No,
that's called conscription. Really is what it is. If you commit a crime or you're destitute or you don't have money or there's a debt, you get pressed or conscripted into that's my guess of what happened.
That makes sense.
So 4 years on the water, Tasmania, New Zealand, Tonga, Tahiti, Hawaii. Can you imagine? The northwest coast of America, Alaska, the Bering Sea, Kamchatka. Ledyard was probably...
Hold on. I don't even know where Kamchatka is.
I don't either. Maybe Mrs. Producer can type that up for us. I have no idea where Kamchatka is.
Like but maybe it doesn't exist anymore. That's my guess.
Maybe not. Ledyard was probably the first American citizen to set foot on the western coast of his own continent.
Whoa.
Okay, so just to give you perspective, he's the first American to set foot on the western side of the United States.
That's wild.
He didn't come from the east. He came from the Pacific and went all the way around on a British ship while his countrymen were fighting the British back home.
Wow.
In Canton, he watched sea otter pelts purchased from natives on the northwest coast for almost nothing, sell for enormous sums of money. He had filed that away. It would drive him for the rest of his life. Now, here's an interesting story. So, we all know Cook is a famous explorer. Mm-hmm. Ledyard watched Cook die on a beach in Hawaii. Cook is probably the most famous explorer alive at the time. 3 voyages. Oh, there's Kamchatka. Okay, yeah, it's just on the other side of the Bering Strait.
Okay, I was like, I don't recognize where that is.
That was Russia.
That map did not have labels. I have no idea. Are you sure that's not just North America and like way up there to the Canadian?
Jacob, look at the map. On the top left is Norway and Sweden and Finland, and that's all of Russia right there. And on the right, you've got Kamchatka, and below that is Japan.
Why does Russia look all like split up?
Because that's all the like Siberia, Tibet, all these different. It's the Republic. It's all the different provinces of the Republic.
So that was at the time, I assume.
Yeah, you got to remember that Russia was not Russia. It was United Soviet.
I get it now. Yeah,
there's all kinds of different things.
Yeah. Fun fact: I have swam off of Captain Cook Beach.
There you go.
Pretty sure is where he died.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a lesson here on what happened because it's kind of interesting. Cook was at the time the most famous explorer alive and one of the most famous explorers of all time. He'd mapped more of the ocean than any person in history. When the expedition first arrived at the bay in Hawaii, Kealakekau Bay, 10,000 Hawaiians paddled out to meet him. Why? They thought Cook might be Lono, the fertility god.
Yeah, I did know that.
which is, I mean, that'd be pretty
heck
cool.
yeah. Yeah.
The timing of his arrival lined up with their festival.
Exactly.
They treated him like a deity, lavished him with gifts, held ceremonies in his honor. Cook and his men stayed for a month, took everything the Hawaiians offered, and left. Before we continue the story, why don't you tell me a little bit about Common Gear, our friends over at Common Gear?
Yes.
And we'll talk about Mr. Cook.
Okay, because I'm excited about, the history of Captain Cook. But speaking of history and stories, the story of your car matters as well, just as much as the machine itself sometimes. Every receipt, every late night fix, every travel mile, rallies, that's your car's identity. But most of us have that history scattered everywhere if it's recorded at all, whether it's in your glove box or it's maybe a photo on Instagram or it's, I don't know where. But the Common Gear fixes that. It's a platform built by real car people that allows you to digitize everything. Your maintenance records, your build photos, your provenance, all of the details, all of your maintenance, all organized, searchable in one place. If you've got decades of paperwork, they have a white glove service that'll digitize it for you, remote or on site. You hand them chaos and they hand you a complete car history. It adds credibility and it adds value. If you go to sell your car, now you have everything right there in a singular place that's verified and you can look at it. Go to thecommongear.com and make your free account and start building your car's digital legacy today. It's free, Chris. It doesn't cost anything.
It's free.
We don't reinforce that enough in these ads.
You know what does cost a lot, Jake? Doing a podcast and running Overcrest costs a lot. So if you would like to support that, overcrestproductions.com/Drivers Club and take a look at what we've got to offer. There's going to be some new things there. You can support the show. You can support the rally. You can support
it's drivers.
It is Drivers Team. Driving team.
We are terrible. Okay, we got to do better at that. Driving team. It's the driving team, Chris.
Yes, the driving team. All right, you can support us there. We'd love to have you sign up. Sign up by June, and you get the annual drop, which is going to be bespoke to driving team members.
Exact day? Is it Jake's birthday? I think that's probably the cutoff, isn't it?
June. I don't know when. I think it's June 1st is the cutoff. If you're not signed up by then. And then everything will get sent out.
So my birthday, June 2nd, is too late.
Yep. You cannot wish Jake a happy birthday and sign up for this year's drop. So sign up for the Drivers Club. You're going to get some really cool stuff. Jeff is working on one-of-a-kind things. If you're not a member of the driving team, it will not be for sale.
I think some of that actually arrived at my house today.
Yes.
Yeah, a proof of that.
I think you're right. Okay, so he took everything the Hawaiians offered, and he left, Mr. Cook. Storm, and our buddy is... Ledyard's on this boat.
Hold on. I have to speculate, Chris. I have to speculate. Being that they thought he was the fertility god, and they were in the midst of a festival. We know how festivals are, and people are crazy and happy, and, maybe they're drinking some coconut rum that they're making there. Everything that the Hawaiians gave them, I imagine, was of themselves as well. I'm just saying Captain Cook probably had a really good time.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there was a few things that went with, but I was probably just a giant pile of coconuts and gold. I mean, they have coconuts in Hawaii? I don't know. Is that native? Anyway, so he turns on he left. He leaves.
Float, so they go everywhere.
A storm breaks his mast, so he turns around and comes back.
Oh no!
Predictably, the Hawaiians did not want him there anymore.
Wait.
The festival was over. The welcome was spent. And a god who comes back with a broken ship doesn't look much like a god.
Yeah, not much divinity in that.
No. Ledyard saw it clearly. He later wrote that they were reciprocally tired of each other. Things got worse fast.
They were hungover, Chris. That's what I'm talking about. It was too big of a party, too much. Everyone's hungover. I told you to leave.
Things got worse really fast. The Hawaiians stole a cutter from one of the ships. Cook went ashore with 9 Marines to take the Hawaiian chief hostage until the boat was returned. It was a tactic he'd used before. Word came across the bay that another chief had been shot by Cook's men. The beach erupted. Cook was stabbed from behind, clubbed on the head, and went down in the shallows. 4 Marines died with him. Ledyard watched the most celebrated explorer of his age die on the beach over a stolen boat. The Admiralty, the British Admiralty, confiscated everyone's journals when the expedition got back to England. They wanted to control the story. Ledyard wrote his from memory. What is that? Is that the knife? Oh, that's Cook's fatal dagger. They have it? That's a pretty nice looking knife.
Wait, so is this
dagger reportedly the one used to kill Captain James Cook at the Bay, Hawaii, blah, blah, blah. It is of Spanish origin and quite different from the usual weapons of that thing's rad.
Right, okay, so they like took
money.
his own dagger or something, or one that was traded.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. I didn't see that while I was there.
Yeah. Well, it might not be there. It might be in a museum in England. Who knows? So he published his notes. Ledyard wrote his own book.
Oh, yeah, because The
man who watched the most famous explorer in the world die on a beach wrote the only honest account of how it happened, and he did it from memory because the government took his notes. Published in 1783, a full year before the Admiralty's official account hit the shelves.
Ooh.
It was the first book protected by copyright in the United States, and he'd written the whole thing without a single note to work from. Ledyard's original confiscated journal has never been found.
Yeah, no, they destroyed all of them. But the fact that that's a first...
No. They're around.
Really?
They're around. Yeah, I think they destroyed his because it probably wasn't... Yeah, but they wrote it's like 1,600 pages. Because they had the journals of the whole journey, like all his journeys and everything were there.
Oh, so they do. There are records of those.
Yeah, there's records. There's records. That's something I specifically. I'm like, where are these journals?
Yeah,
Ledyard's is gone. They never found it. Predictably, the British sent him to fight Americans in the Revolution. He deserted, of course, and went back to Connecticut and spent several years trying to get someone to fund a fur trading operation.
This is where I'm from. Like, thanks for the free ride. I'm out.
He had seen the money that trapping provided and knew the opportunity was real, but nobody would back him. He tried Robert Morris, who was a Continental Army guy and signer to the Declaration of Independence, and John Paul Jones, who was a naval hero, who has the famous quote that says, "I have not yet begun to fight." But anyway, every scheme of his fell apart.
Fun fact, Morse, the signer of the Declaration, I believe is the ancestor of the inventor of Morse code. I might have made that up, but I believe I read that.
They're spelled very different. This is Robert Morris, Morris, and Morse is Morse. So
you know,
I'm going to call that...
Chris, you know when AI makes things up, they call it hallucinating?
Yes, that would be one.
Hallucinated that.
Oh, that's you. You're
AI.
AI.
Yeah, that was not AI.
Jaconation.
I can't even blame it. But,
a Jaconation.
A Jaconation. That was a Jaconation.
Yeah. In Paris, later on, Ledyard met Thomas Jefferson again. They became close. Jefferson called him a man of genius. Ledyard called Jefferson his friend, brother, and his father. They shared the same obsession. What was out there past the edge of the known? Jefferson's idea was simple. If a ship could not be found, just walk. East across Europe, east across Russia, across the Bering Strait, south through Alaska, and across the continent to Virginia.
So around the world. Around the world is what he just said.
Essentially, yes.
You just said just walk around the world, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I'm
putting that in perspective. Mr. Thomas Jefferson, the emissary to France, I believe was his role at the time. Yeah, okay, weird.
Ledyard said yes. He goes, yes, I'll do it.
Sure, yeah.
Jefferson is quoted as saying to a friend, he says, having no money, they kick him from place to place, and thus he expects to be kicked round the globe. December.
So he kind of knew he was like...
What is Jefferson thinking here?
Taking advantage of him, but like at least being like, yeah, this guy's stupid enough and destitute enough to do it.
You think they took bets on how far he would get?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
December 1786, 10 years after the Revolutionary War. He left London with almost nothing. Crossed the channel and made his way north through Denmark and Sweden, Scandinavia in winter. There's all kinds of stories that I can't. It's like I can't do it. It's just too much.
Like
he walked along the coast of the Gulf of Bothnia, crossed into Finland, and reached St. Petersburg. From there, he went east, Moscow, then past Moscow, deeper into the interior, across the Ural Mountains, and down the eastern side into Siberia.
Which
Siberia
has lore of its own. Like, that's not somewhere you just go in.
I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective. Siberia is a word people use often in a place without understanding the scale.
Okay.
From the Ural Mountains to the Pacific is 4,000 miles. Okay? But I'm going to give you perspective because even that is a little like, oh, I don't know. So it is, I'm like trying to figure out, dragging the little map thing around, trying to find like Miami to Anchorage is 4,400 miles.
What? Okay.
That's how big Siberia is.
LA to New York is
3,200 miles or something, 3,300 miles.
Holy crap. And Siberia is just like...
it might only be 2,500 miles, I think.
Okay, yeah, because I guess... Because here to LA is like 2,000, I think. Ish.
2,700 miles. Yes, 2,700 miles. I was close.
Okay, yep.
So, Ledyard walked city by city. Omsk, Tomsk, Irkutsk.
Thank you for trying to
travel by
those.
foot.
Yes.
I do what I can. This is a long episode. We talk too much. I timed it. I read it, and it was like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
He traveled by foot, by sledge, or merely by the charity of strangers. When nobody offered to help, he slept where he could. When someone let him in, he stayed until they made him leave.
Which...
He crossed...
Okay, yeah. I mean, you don't blame the guy, but also, like...
Take your time. Yeah, he's a little bit of a squatter, maybe. He sat in the back of mail sledges when drivers took pity on him. He reached Yakutsk in 11 weeks, more than halfway across Russia. No money, no government backing, and no permission to do any of this. In Yakutsk, he stopped for the winter, planning to join a larger expedition to the Pacific coast. Russian officials had been watching him the whole time. An American who knew the Pacific fur trade was not someone Catherine the Great wanted wandering through her territory unsupervised. In February of 1788, soldiers came for him. They arrested him, put him on a sledge, and hauled him 1,500 miles back to Moscow at nearly 1,000 miles a week before dumping him across the Polish border. Months of walking, the cold, charity of strangers, the frozen rivers, all of it undone in a few brutal weeks on the back of a sledge going the wrong direction.
Oh, my God.
So he went to London and tried a different thing. Africa.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he did give up on that, but I guess Africa now. Sorry, Mr.
He went to London and
Jefferson.
tried again. Africa. The Association for Promoting the Discovery of the Interior Parts of Africa wanted someone to find the source of the Niger by traveling from Cairo across the Sahara. They asked Ledyard, when can you be ready? He said, tomorrow morning.
Chris, no. Like, this guy clearly is skilled. Like, don't get me wrong. The fact that he survived and did this, but also, like, why?
He got to Cairo in August of 1788 and started putting an expedition together, buying supplies, hiring contracts. He got some money this time.
So I was going to say,
waiting for a caravan heading south. Yeah, it's the Association for Promoting the Discovery.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The caravan kept getting delayed. He waited for months. He wrote Jefferson in November, frustrated by the delays, but ready to go. He wrote his mother that he was in full and perfect health and expected to be gone for 3 years. It was one of the last things she ever heard from him. He got sick. Dysentery. He tried to treat it himself with sulfuric acid, a common purgative at the time. It killed him.
Yeah. Huh.
John Ledyard died in Cairo. He was 37 years old. On my footnote here is 15 years later, Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark to do what Ledyard tried doing alone, going the wrong direction around the planet. Louisiana Purchase, also blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Neither the British nor the American government bothered to claim his body. He was buried in a makeshift grave somewhere in the city that's never been found.
That's sad.
Quote from him, I have known both hunger and nakedness to the utmost extremity of human suffering. I have known what it is to have food given me as charity to a madman. He saw the commercial potential of the Pacific Northwest a decade before anyone acted on it. He tried to cross the continent 20 years before Lewis and Clark, and tried to find the source of the Nile and the Niger 80 years before anyone else did. He was not unlucky. He was early. And in exploration, that's about the same as being forgotten. Now, hopefully, a little bit less forgotten.
That is wild. There are so many like separate like chapters of his life that could have been standalone, but like this guy especially, like, wild.
I gotta buy the book. Probably not going to get a first edition.
Just okay, because I'm getting confused because this guy's life was so long. This is the dude that took a boat out of Dartmouth?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Like, just wild.
This is the guy that watched Cook die. Can you imagine the stories?
Wow. That's what I mean. Like, every chapter of this guy's life is just ridiculous.
Okay. A sample-bound band of 10 late colonial Revolutionary War era almanacs issued. I'm trying to find it, like what a first edition of this.
Oh, okay. Is this a biography of his, or what is this?
Well, this is his memoirs. This is the thing that was, here it is. I have found it. I'm going to show you what this book.
Wait, this is the thing that they captured, and I thought you said haven't ever been found.
No, that was Jacob.
What are we looking at?
This is the book he wrote off of memory.
Oh,
because they confiscated his journal.
Yeah,
this is the first copyrighted book in North America. Published by Hartford and Nathaniel Patton, 1783, first edition, 1773. This is like actually.
Oh, look,
this be
it's
second edition?
only $16,000.
Yes, it is. Wow. Faithfully narrated from the original, Mr. John Ledyard, the original memory of, what does that even say? You can't even read it. It's so like,
whoa. Wow. That's amazing.
I love this stuff, man. I would love, the problem is, can you even read it?
No.
It's the same, you know what this is? This is the same thing for me as like a guy that wouldn't drive his car. If I was rich out of my mind, I would buy this book and read it.
Yeah, but you have to have your white gloves and use the tweezers.
Probably.
And like this.
I actually...
Because you don't want to, you're not into ruining something for the sake of like, I'm going to be the only one, I'm going to be the last one to read it because I don't give a rat's ass. Like, no, you're going to want to preserve it and make it nice. And so, like, no, you buy this book to have it, you keep it under glass, and then you buy the print of it to actually read.
Journal of Captain Cook's Last Voyage to the Pacific and in Quest of the Northwest Passage between Asia and America, performed in the years 76, 77, 78, and 1779.
Yeah, so this is the guy then that saw firsthand what these pelts were selling for, in Paris and in London.
Exactly.
And saw
that's why
also firsthand that they were getting paid $1 for the actual trappers. And he's like, whoa.
And it's selling for $100 in France. Yeah, exactly.
Just wild.
You could get a slightly newer copy for only $4,000. No problem. Anyway, okay, so this is the first.
Okay,
what three episodes?
How did you title this series? Who is this? Just like
this is the greatest explorers of the American West that you've never heard of.
Okay. Wow, I'm excited.
So these are pretty obscure. There's people that are more known. I think the most known is probably Mr. Revenant. Everybody kind of has seen
Hugh
that
Glass.
movie and read that by now.
Yep, and the name.
Mr. Glass.
That is absolutely phenomenal. Can you tease
a crappy
it all?
name to have in high school.
What's that?
No, I haven't written the other ones yet. I've got the names, but I haven't written.
Right. So I was just going to ask,
yet.
Are we sticking within this time period of like?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the time period, Jake. When else?
Right. So what
else is there?
You talked about this in your intro, but we didn't really go back to it and talk about it and kind of consider the fact that the real rationale and the reason for so much of this was the fact that men were forced or they were faced with no other choice, right? It's like after war, after seeing and being mentally just, I don't know, you're downtrodden.
I also think, Jake, there's a different, think of like back in the day during this similar time period where you've got a farm and you're having 10 kids. You expect like 3 or 4 of them are probably going to die.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like this different, we're very, like our life expectancy is by the time we're old, could be 100. You know, these people were dead by 50. So I think that there's this different, like, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to keep going. I think there was just a different mentality on death. And I don't think a lot of people are having an existential crisis during
sure
this
they
period
were.
of time.
I 100% believe, because you could have. Okay, that's my point, though. I think it's the same thing, because you're saying if you have 10 kids on the farm and the oldest is the one that actually gets the farm, and so the other ones are good luck. You're either going to go work in, the mines or are there mines? I don't know if there's mines, but you don't have a lot of
mines.
Opportunity, right? And especially being faced with, I think it was an existential crisis of seeing, so many of your peers and countrymen and brothers die next to you that, yeah, okay, well, I might as well go see what else is out there.
I don't know if I would describe that as an existential crisis in the modern sense.
No, you're right.
I guess they had their own existential crisis, right? Their own crisis of identity and crisis of...
I think it was certainly a factor in kind of motivating them or giving them almost that freedom of saying, like, well, life is obviously short, and let's see what else is there. What else is out there? Where can I explore?
There's very little to explore now.
I know.
There's very, very little. Almost nothing. There's almost nothing left to explore that hasn't already been. This is like the golden era of exploration. I've got this other book too that's like it's this American woman that went and wandered around China, like super old, leather bound, ancient book, and it's just
bizarre.
her, like, what? Just this bizarre. She's a widow, and she just inherited a bunch of money and decided to just go travel around China in like the 1700s, which was a vastly, obviously different place than it is today.
Yeah, but I can't imagine
this stuff
any less dangerous for a woman in the 1700s to just, I'm going to go to China.
No, but it's just something that, I don't know. This is still in people's blood. We're still, think of Elspeth Beard, who got on her motorcycle and drove around the world because she just had that itch. I don't have it that bad. I've got it a little bit, but I want to do stuff. I want to drive down to Tierra del Fuego and drive up to the ocean and see that. And the problem for me is I just really want to use my car. I want to use my car to do it because I love driving so much. I don't feel the
willing
need to walk
across Siberia.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. All right, guys, that's it. This was episode 1 of this series, which I think is 3 parts, 3 or 4 parts. I'm actually probably going to try and find, I've got some time because we got an interview coming up next week, which is, I think, Batim Barisha from BBI is next week. And then we'll have the next episode the week after that. So I've got some time. I'd like to find somebody that I could talk to that's an expert in this field to kind of give us an even better breakdown of, maybe even find out if my thesis is correct on what motivated these men.
Yeah,
I'm just guessing, but I'm sure there's the scholars of now that know about then will be able to tell us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited. That was awesome.
Thank
you.
On that note, I will see all of you next week, and I suppose Jake will too. We'll see you.
Take care.